You never know. Okay, let's get this thing on. Shawnee Road.
Tim, would you like to lead us in that pledge of allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone, to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. It's August 20th, 2020. On my left is Commissioner Aaron Mays, who represents District 3. On my right, Commissioner Kevin Cook, who represents District 2. And I'm Bill Rippon, and I represent District 1. And what is first?
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
I'll move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item 4, new business. A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Commissioners, we have 2 sets of vouchers this morning as we did not have a meeting on Monday. The first set is for $956,520.34. There are 3 things that make up the bulk of that. The highest is out of the detention center, $297,075.49, of which the majority of that is Horizon Healthcare, the health provider for the inmates at the jail. The health and claims are $174,586.24. Parks and Recreation made up $85,809.18 over a bulk of different projects and endeavors. And those are the bulks of that, out of that voucher. The second set of vouchers is for $1,816,000. The largest out of that is the holding accounts with the state of Kansas for $1,125,604.74. Solid Waste had $258,985.30. And then finally, under Bridge was $196,578.83, which was the Bettis asphalt for the Southeast 29th from 470 KTA to the Kuroko Road, having reviewed both sets of their approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move that we approve the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item B, solid waste number 1, consider approval of request to fill a deputy solid waste director position at a salary including benefits of $80,088.56 with funding from the solid waste budget, and to fill any position that becomes vacant as a result of filling this position.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bill Sutton, Shawnee County Solid Waste. The item before you is a request to post and fill a deputy director position with solid waste. This is not a new position, but rather a vacant position that's been vacant for a little over a year now. I have worked with Director of HR to modify the position description to get it to where we want, and this has been run through Audit Finance as well for their approval. Solid Waste is a tax-funded entity, user fee based, so there will be no tax dollars used in for this position. Subject to what questions?
Chairman?
Yes.
Bill, after a year of the position being vacant, is this a necessary position, and if so, why, and what would they be doing, and why now?
That's a good question, sir. One thing, if COVID has taught me anything over this past 6 months or so, that there is definitely a need for a director in this position in these times. I have some very senior supervisors that will be retiring here shortly, and we're going to need a bridge from the institutional knowledge to our new supervisors when we ever get those. This position will also be focused very heavily on safety and training for our drivers. There is a need for additional training in that aspect, and that is what they're going to be focusing on.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'll move for approval.
I will second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you, Bill. Next item.
Item C, Facilities Maintenance. Number 1, consider approval of request to award the bid to McElroy's, Inc. in the amount of $387,325 for the HVAC upgrade to assist in the elimination of airborne pathogens up to and including COVID at the Shawnee County Courthouse, North Annex, and Elections Office, to be paid with CARES Act funding and authorization and execution of contract C290-2020 for same.
Morning, Betty Griner, Director of Administrative Services. As Cindy read, to expedite the process because of our time constraints, because of the CARES Act, we are asking for you to award the bid and to approve a contract with McElroy's for $387,325. These are for HVAC upgrades to the courthouse, the North Annex, and the Elections Office. And this is to combat COVID-19. This will be using UV lighting, bipolar ionization, and then also additional air filtration. So the contract also states that it will be completed by December 30. That is the date that projects must be completed for CARES Act money. The counselor's office has reviewed this for legality and form, and I also, if you have any technical questions about any of these things, Tom Randalls is here to help with that.
Questions?
I do not.
Oh, I guess I didn't say that the funding would be provided through the CARES Act.
On the orders, just the project has to be
The
finished?
project has to be done. We then have 90 days from that time to make
Okay.
final payments, but the
All right.
project has to be done.
Okay. And that's in the contract, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right,
I don't have anything else.
all right. I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Betty. Next item.
Item D, Parks and Recreation. Number 1, consider approval of request to add wireless data accounts for 1 iPhone and 6 iPads to the existing government contract pricing arrangement with Verizon Wireless at a cost of $40.01 per device, totaling $3,360.84 annually from the department's operational budget, and device costs of $359 per iPad and no cost for the iPhones.
Good morning, Commissioners. Josh Lehman, Parks and Recreation. The item before you this morning is a request to add 7 lines of cellular service to our existing Verizon Wireless account. The intent is to utilize that to purchase 6 iPads and 1 iPhone for use by our project manager / park planner, our park operations staff, and then our shelter crew. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Questions?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Josh. Next item.
Item E, Corrections. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C291-2020 with KBS, Inc. for the renovation of the HVAC operation within the medical area of the Adult Detention Center to make the full area negative airflow to reduce the risk of COVID-19 exposure at a cost of $772,261, utilizing the 2020 CARES Act funds for Shawnee County.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. These next 2 items are in response and working closely with the Sparks Committee and Betty Griner and Audit Finance regarding how to reduce and mitigate the spread of the COVID virus in the department and to be able to isolate or to identify once a case has been identified. One of the things that we saw was a very big need was to increase the amount of negative airflow rooms that we have in the Shawnee County Jail. Currently, we worked with KDHE many years ago to put in 2, and we're finding out that that's not near enough. That allows us to vent each room individually to instead of having air flow and return back into the facility. One of the things that we looked at real quickly was what would it take to turn our entire medical area into a negative airflow for the rooms. and that can be done, which means we'd have to change out the HVAC system for that. Each room would have its own control and would be vital to this cause and challenge that we have in Department of Corrections. And I think everybody knows with the uniqueness of the corrections and jails and prisons that the spread of this virus can be detrimental to both the inmates and, more importantly, and equally, I should say, to staff. So we have looked at this. We did put this before the CARES Committee and the Sparks Committee, and this was approved unanimously with that group. And there was funding, and we thought this was a viable option. And speaking with our consultant and with Betty, they both agreed that this was fine.
Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Service. I will just add that our consultants, Whit O'Brien's, these large projects like that, and I should have mentioned it on the one that I presented also, they have analyzed these and have really gone through and looked at the requirements of the CARES Act to make sure that all of these do fit those requirements, and they have provided us with a memo that lays all of that out and what requirements they were using or what eligibility criteria they were using to say that this is an eligible cost. Just wanted to add that too.
Thank you, Ben.
Brian, do they feel confident this could be accomplished by the end of the year?
Yes, yes. All of the projects they feel will be substantially completed and completed by these dates. If we can, upon approval, we can get started. I do have Tim Phelps here, who will be one of the project managers or the project manager for this, along with the contracts and stuff like that for any specific questions that you may have.
Brian, the jail has done an exceptional job so far in dealing with COVID and addressing COVID. And to date, I think that, we have been able to mitigate some of the risks. What specifically, by spending this, we're talking about over $700,000 between the two projects, this item and the next.
Mm-hmm.
How will these two continue to mitigate and maybe address those risks more?
Well, one of the biggest things is that we have to mitigate the risk of everybody that comes into the facility. We have separated staff and inmates. For the inmates, this is solely, and to protect inmates in there, is that we quarantine every inmate that comes in for 14 days. And that by following CDC guidelines and our health department guidelines, those that become symptomatic are tested. We have tested some, and right now we haven't had anybody, an inmate, that has tested positive that I'm aware of. Yes. But what we do is that when somebody becomes symptomatic, we move them and do our best to move them into an isolation room so that when the door is opened, we do know that everybody is in full PPE in those areas. But what we do is we isolate, we identify and we isolate as soon as we can. We're running out of space. At the very beginning, our population was in the, I don't know, Tim, mid-300s, and we're back, I think, over 400 now. So we've seen a substantial increase in population, and that means that we're running out of space to house inmates that are coming into the jail for quarantine. And this has been a huge success. Every inmate gets a mask, which has been a huge success. Every staff member wears a mask, which has been a huge success. But that's not good enough when somebody becomes symptomatic. We have to isolate those people and put them in the best possible situation. And right now, we just don't have that.
Many jurisdictions have continued to look at who is held on bond, what their bonds are set at, and who is in the detention center. And I know that when COVID first started, there were a lot of jurisdictions that went through and reducing their inmate population.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like we did the same thing, but our inmate populations are starting to go back up again.
Yes.
Do we work closely with the district attorney and the courts on those bond and what they're set at and who is held and at what costs? And
Absolutely. I've worked with the judges and the prosecuting attorneys, the district attorney and the defense attorneys. We have a team that monitors our bonding system and working with court services for population control. We still do a pretty good job. The unfortunate thing is we're getting a lot of violent offenders in Shawnee County that are coming here that won't fit the criteria of somebody that can automatically get an OR. But we constantly review that. We have seen, and we understand the challenges at Kansas Department of Corrections, a delay in getting their inmates back. They've had another cluster, or I believe more inmates that have come back positive in staff, and so they've delayed and gone to other things. And so other jurisdictions are delaying taking their inmates that are their inmates. So we're doing fairly well on the low-level offenses. I keep an eye on that. But never once has the jail or have I come before the board to ask for a mass release. That I don't think that would ever be appropriate. But for the low-level crimes, we created a list, and we did see, I don't know, 30, 40 inmates we were able to release periodically, doing bonds and stuff like that. So we have a good relationship, and we watch that constantly.
That was going to be my last question as to the state, whether we have the state that's maybe delaying picking up the inmates, or maybe delaying getting inmates out to medical facilities due to their concerns about outbreaks and clusters, and what impact that's had on the local level.
Go ahead. I'll let Tim talk. He'll say it better than I will.
Commissioners, Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. I just wanted to point out on that specific issue, because it has been a topic of conversation. We're actually now going to try to work with KDOC and, to the extent necessary, our IT, to see if we can reduce the number of inmates coming from the state to us for a hearing, try to get it to where the hearing is held at the prison, remotely, like they're doing with our people once they get here. So if we have some success with that, we can maybe reduce how much is coming in, because now they're requiring that anyone we send back to them gets tested first and shown to be negative before they'll take them.
Just for anybody watching and those not familiar with the court system, if you're an inmate at Lansing Correctional Facility and you have a court hearing in Shawnee County, they would transport you from Lansing to Topeka, to Shawnee County Jail, to do your court hearing, and then at some point you would be transported back.
That is correct.
And now we're talking about maybe trying to use electronics so the inmate never leaves Lansing and they can have their court hearing without that burden on. And I think that's something that good to look into.
Tim, with the backlog of the courts, are we anticipating a
surge?
A surge, yeah, a wave?
On the detention side, and I was going to mention that they are, just by necessity, they're going to have to start dealing with that backlog, even though they may be misdemeanor crimes or low felonies that they have been holding off on dealing with because of our need to have a lower population. That's going to change. They're going to have to deal with it, because they can't just become overwhelmed and in a surge, because they've been holding off on sentencings to put them on ISP too. So that's starting to come back now.
Yeah, the court suspended some trials. We had several that have waited many, many months, and so we're keeping our eye. We expect a surge going back into the court. One of the things we're working really well with Ms. Welch and the other court administrators is that those who are in our quarantine modules, we're keeping out of the courthouse. I don't think that's a good practice to bring them over, unless they do have the option of waiving that Zoom and coming in person. But we're trying to keep those that we deem as our initial high risk out of the courthouse and only bringing the others. But we're going to start seeing a backlog. But for Kansas Department of Corrections, yeah, it's becoming a backlog. I've been in contact with the secretary. He has been very good to work with. We're talking to them, but we're up in the 40s and 50s, getting close to 50 inmates that we have that need to be moving on.
I'll move for approval of the request.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Next item.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C 292-2020 with KBS Inc. for the renovation of 16 module locations within the Adult Detention Center to make individual module-based rooms to hold remote visits and/or court hearings at a cost of $481,908, utilizing the 2020 CARES Act funds for the county.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Cole, Shawnee County Department of Corrections. This is similar to another request with our administrative, a multipurpose room to be able to have individual rooms for Zoom and things like that, which is going to be very helpful. But we also know that we've seen an increase with the desire of the courts wanting to do more virtual court. We also see the need for more visitation because we have restricted visitors from coming inside the facility. So this is going to be another approach, another response to the COVID, mitigating the spread of reducing the numbers of people who actually really don't want to come in. Courts, this would allow visitations, this would allow professional visitations, numerous visits, and parole, probation, everybody to be able to get onto this system. And we're working with our current vendor, and Tim's working with our current vendor to be able to provide this. The multipurpose room won't be enough. So we're wanting also, and I have to be upfront that with our staffing, I don't have a lot of staff to move inmates around. So the inmates, I have court transport who can move inmates down to this other area, but there's going to be times that I'm going to have the inmates with the ability to use their tablet in their room or get them to a confidential area to be able to do some of these visits. And so this is just another step that we're taking, and that it's very well respected approach in corrections. And again, this was something that we worked with our consultant and Betty Greiner on. Jim Crowley and his office has looked at all of the contracts for legality and form. This fits the criteria in our consultant's perception of the criteria. And so, again, this is just another way for us to approach. And this, it protects inmates and it protects staff and our visitors and stuff like that. So I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Questions?
No, I'll move for approval.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, second by Commissioner Rippon. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Brian?
Item F, Health Department, number 1, consider approval of request to submit the Kansas Department of Health and Environment application to assist with COVID-19 response and recovery efforts for a total request of $750,000 to include payroll for staff, to purchase fit testing machines for PPE, and to provide food and lodging to individuals who are isolated or quarantined and have no other safe options.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Oakes from the Health Department. This is an opportunity through the Kansas Department of Health and Environment for the Health Department to apply for some of the SPARK funding. So we decided to go ahead and apply for this funding so maybe we could possibly free up some of the funding that comes to the county. So we have worked with Betty Greiner, and we would like to submit this application. It's due tomorrow, and see if we can't get some of the money so we can put back money into our community that came through the Sparks funding. And this is mostly salaries. There is some funding in here for fit testing machines. Those are very expensive items that help us fit test people for N95 masks. And there's definitely a need, not just for the health department, but in the community for this. So if we had 2 fit testing machines ourselves, we get a lot more people fit tested. And it would be a great benefit to the nursing homes, to other organizations in the community that need that fit testing. So we will probably bring that request to you here pretty soon to purchase those. And then also a small amount of money to help with lodging and food if people need to isolate or quarantine away from their homes. And so I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Could you explain this fit testing machine?
A fit testing machine?
Yes.
Well, it's I have been fit tested. It's a small machine that it helps tell if an N95 mask is the proper fit for you. So you put the mask on, and then it tells if the seal is complete. They're very uncomfortable, by the way, I will add that. But it does tell you if there's any leakage, and it's amazing to me. When I was fit tested, I had that mask on, and I thought, oh, this has to be a tight seal, and it wasn't. So there's different brands, there's different sizes, so that's why we have to have people fit tested to make sure they have the right N95 mask. But it is an absolute complete seal. And we have several staff, along with Chief Siegel, who are certified in using that machine and fit testing people. So we just need the machines.
Questions? All right.
I'll move to approve.
Second. Motion's been made by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you,
you.
Linda. Next item.
Item G, County Counselor, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C293-2020, a 3-year subscription contract with Westlaw Thompson Reuters to provide the County Counselor's Office, the Sheriff's Office, and the Department of Corrections with continued access to Westlaw for online legal research at a cost of $1,369.06 monthly, with 2% annual increase over the next 3 years, with 50% of it to be paid by the Counselor's Office, 33% paid by the Sheriff's Office, and 17% paid by DOC.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Krause, Shawnee County Counselor. Ms. Beck basically said it all, but the County Counselor's Office is the contract administrator for this contract with Westlaw. Westlaw provides us our tools for online legal research. It's very critical and important for what my office does. Several years ago, we learned that Department of Corrections had a contract and Sheriff's Office had a contract. We agreed to come together and put it in one contract to get better pricing, and you can see the breakdown of who pays under that contract. This is a new 3-year contract with Westlaw to continue those services with 2% annual increases, and I'll be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Any questions? I'll move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next item.
Item H, Information Technology. Number 1, consider approval of request request of accelerated purchase of equipment from CDWG, Software House International, Turnkey Mobile, and Verizon to support remote work environments, increase teleconferencing capabilities, and to improve social distancing at a cost not to exceed $931, utilizing the COVID relief fund.
Good morning, Commissioners. Pat O'Blain with the Information Technology Department. As mentioned, this is another element of the county's response to the COVID emergency. We've got to prepare all of the staff in all of the different departments for being able to do remote work to the greatest extent possible. We have to improve our ability to teleconference because people can't travel to seminars anymore. They typically have to get on a video conferencing arrangement. So we need to prepare a lot of conference rooms with video displays and webcams and microphones. Just a whole laundry list of items that are necessary to better prepare the county for better mobile capabilities and better teleconferencing and better social distancing. We sent out an email to all department heads back in early July asking for them to send us their requests for equipment that they needed. We received those back and we compiled a pretty comprehensive list of items that we need. This is all handled or will be paid for by COVID funding. We've got about 900 and, what's the grand total on this? $931,000 that we're asking for in order to support these costs. We're putting this on as a request to waive the normal purchasing procedures because we do have to get these orders placed as soon as possible so that the vendors that we've contacted do have the ability to get back with the equipment, get it ordered, get it in, and get it paid for before the December 30th deadline. So we are on very compressed timeframes. We did do quite a bit of due diligence in looking for the most competitive pricing for these items, but a very important element is also the ability of these vendors to get these items supplied and invoiced by those deadlines. And that's why we landed on these 4 vendors for the purchases that we're asking for. These were the ones that gave us the most competitive prices, and most importantly, we're also able to supply these items within the timeframes desired. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions? I would move for approval.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Next item.
Item I, COVID-19 Response Team. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of the following agreements for the COVID-19 education and awareness marketing campaign with funding to be paid through COVID-19 relief funds. A, contract C-294-2020 with Lamar Advertising for 21 billboards at a cost of $19,900. And B, contract C-295-2020 with Hawk Transit Advertising for a Topeka Metro bus wrap for 1 year beginning September 1, 2020 at a cost of $13,200.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Monholland, Shawnee County Public Information Officer. I'm here today on behalf of the Shawnee County COVID-19 response team to ask for approval for billboard space with Lamar Advertising and a bus wrap for the Topeka Metro. As she said, they were the bus wrap will be for $13,200, and we will have 21 billboards strategically throughout Shawnee County. That'll cost us $19,900, and for a total of $31,100. This will be paid through COVID-19 relief funds that have been granted to the Shawnee County Health Department. I do have some billboards that we have we have proofs of, so I will go ahead and bring those up for you guys to see. We are doing this to help mitigate the spread and create awareness and education to all of our residents. So, I'm sorry, I can't really see here. The first one is with Topeka and Shawnee County. The COVID-19 response team is a collaboration between county employees, our county and PIOs and graphic designers with the city. So this is a collaboration between us that we came up with, and this is the first one. This one is our mask with the hashtag, which some of you may be familiar with from our Mask Up on Mondays. Another similar one. And this is the last of the billboard. I'm going to go ahead and keep this one up, though, because this is also the chosen graphic that we will use for the bus wrap as well. All right. So the billboards will start running from August 24th, this coming Monday, through November 15th. They will be strategically placed in with dates throughout Shawnee County and for 21 spaces. The bus wrap will start on September 1st and will run through September 1st of 2021. With that, I open it up for any questions.
Questions?
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Next item.
Item J, Administrative Services, number 1, update on revenues and expenditures as of July 31, 2020.
Good morning, Betty Greiner, Director of Administrative Services. I'm here today with our financial report for July 31st of 2020. Okay, I will start with revenues. Our year-to-date revenues total $93,799,791. That is $3,785,000 underestimated. We'll go through the different categories, but this chart just shows you the bulk of our revenue comes from property taxes, and it's kind of a good visual of the different categories of revenue. I will say also, I said that our budget variance is $3.7 million. Just for the month of July, we were $641,000 under budget. That is also 3.41% of our total budget. Okay, first category is property taxes. There was no change in this category for the months of July because there were no distributions, but we had received $79,522,931, and that is $1,268,000 under estimated. Next is other revenue, or other taxes. Received $8,974,368. That is $438,000 under what was estimated. And one of the categories in this, one of the taxes within this category are motor vehicle taxes. And those have, I think those are going to catch up at some point here. We had on our vouchers today, you would have seen that there was a large amount in the holding account going to the state for motor vehicles. So I think people are catching that up, so that will be reflected in the future. Next are charges for services. We received $2,634,629. That is $1,278,000 under what was estimated. That's mainly from two sources. One is Parks and Rec, and they are $1,025,000 under budget, and the DOC is $399,000 under budget. And our last category is other revenue. We received $2,667,863. That is $799,000 under what was estimated, and that is almost all attributable to investment income with our interest rate. So this chart is just the pie chart that shows 85% of that revenue we received was from property taxes. And I'll remind you that the majority of our property taxes for the year we've received, we will have 2 more distributions of property taxes, but they are just of past due property taxes, so they're definitely the smaller ones. Other taxes are 9%, charges for services 3%, and other revenue 3%. Any questions on the revenue before I go on? Okay, we'll go on to expenditures. We have received through the end of July, or we've paid through the end of July, $57,453,340. That is $3,629,000 under what was estimated. And we'll go into the different categories on that. Just for the month of July, it was $487,000 under what was estimated. So the revenues are under, but the expenditures are also under. So those offset each other. So we will see and at the end, I'll talk to you about the difference between what additional expenses have been. Okay, our first category is law enforcement. Of course, this is our largest one. The expenditures were $28,378,052. That is $2,019,000 under budget, and that is mainly from 3 sources. The DOC is $1,254,000 under budget. The Sheriff's Office is $499,000 under budget, and courts is $139,000 under budget. Recreation, the expenditures are $9,228,535. That is $841,000 under budget, but for the month of just July, they were pretty much right on budget. So that is all attributable to earlier in the year. And also on those, on Parks and Rec, I brought up that their revenue, I specified their revenue is $1,025,000 under budget, and their expenses is $841,000 under budget. So they're about $200,000 net that we would have lost revenue of $200,000 net at this point in time. Public Works, $5,505,058, and I will mention that this is just for general funds. This does not include state funds or federal funds or sales tax funds, and this is right on budget. Public health, $5,775,601. That is right on budget because these are all allocated amounts. This is also the general fund portion, so this is not talking about everything that the health department has spent, because the health department would be within this category. This is just general fund money that is allocated to them to basically subsidize the health department because they also have other sources of revenue. They have grants like the WIC program, and then they also have some patient pay. Administrative services, $7,534,012. That is $780,000 under budget, mainly attributable to two areas. The contingency through the end of July was under $532,000. Now, we all know that the elevator expenditure that you approved in August took up that variance, but that was the variance through the end of July, and I have that, allocated throughout the year. And then the other item is IT. The IT department was $197,000 under budget as of this date. And then the last category, there's no change for this month on this category either. We spent $1,032,082. There's no change because this accounts for the interest that was paid for the first half of the year. Now, next month when I come with this report, it will show the debt service that will be paid at the end of August, and then that will include the principal for the whole year and then another half year of interest. So this just shows the different categories. I think it's a really good visual on the different categories and how much we spend in law enforcement and how little, especially through this period of time, on debt service. And this is the pie chart that shows that 49% of all of our expenditures were for law enforcement. Recreation is 16%, and I should have said this before too. On recreation, this is just for the general fund. They have other funds that they receive too. They have their separate revolving fund that the golf courses and things like that, the revenues for those all go into that. The revenues that they come from their federal lands in the contract with the federal government, those go into a different fund also. So this is just the general fund expenditures. Public Works is 10%, and I already went over that one. Public Health is 10%, Admin Services is 13%, and Debt Service is 2%. I did say I would go over a little bit. Our total revenues, as I said, were $3,785,000 under budget. Our expenditures were $3,630,000 under budget. So our net is $155,000 that we are really under budget at this through July 31st, or additional costs.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Betty, with the debt and the income being about proportional from last year off, a little over $1 million, we have held off on the funding of projects and expenditures. I know that a lot of departments had projects that they had wanted to start on. Mm-hmm. Parks and Rec had a lot of different projects, and we've kind of held off on letting people start their projects. When do we anticipate maybe letting those getting started?
Well, and I think that's something that we can certainly have a conversation with now, because we just didn't know what we were facing. And let me clarify a little bit. What we did ask was them to hold off on capital improvement projects. You know, those are those large new projects. I mean, not necessarily repairs and maintenance, those types of issues. We asked them to hold off on new capital projects. And I do think, this is something that we have seen the bulk of, our biggest hits, I guess you would say, we have already seen, because we now have the property taxes in for this year. Now, we could still have some reduced revenue from charges from services and those types of things, but they will not have as big an impact as property taxes, and we have probably seen that biggest impact. So I do think that is something now that we could look at, whether we want to lift that and allow them to go ahead with capital projects now. That would be a decision that you as the commission could make, or something I can talk with you individually, whichever would be your preference.
I mean, we did not pass a resolution
No.
stopping it.
No.
As direction to you to tell the
Yes,
departments.
at that time, I talked to you individually, and we kind of, as with the discussion with each one of you individually, we all agreed that at that point in time, with, just not knowing what was coming, that was the prudent thing to do.
I think that my opinion is that we should allow you to meet with the departments to talk about their capital improvement projects, and maybe kind of develop a priority on which ones can be done this year, which ones need to be done immediately. But I think that it is time to maybe get some of those capital improvement projects underway. And I would ask that the other two
Yeah.
commissioners, we have you as the Director of Audit Finance meet with the departments.
I think that's a good idea to ease back into this and to, like I said, meet with each department head and see what they think they're capable of doing at this time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that, we're going to be able to accomplish everything that was originally planned, but I think that's sort of what we need to just figure out. And we didn't take any action that said
No,
they
you did
couldn't
not.
do anything. It was more of a,
It was more a voluntary ask, or,
Yeah.
it was an ask from me
Yeah.
for them to do
Mhm.
that.
So, I trust your judgment as much as anyone's on this stuff too. So, I mean, let's
Yeah.
work together with the department heads and figure out what makes sense.
I mean, we've got 4 months left in the year, or thereabouts, and we should probably just see what is capable of being done.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you, Betty.
thank you.
What's next?
Item 5, Administrative Communications.
Okay, at this time, we'll allow for public comment, or if any department has any announcements they'd like to make.
Good morning, Commissioners. Amanda Monholland, and I am the PIO for Shawnee County, and would like to show you a graphic that the COVID-19 response has worked on in regards to information dissemination to our community in regarding updates whenever they are, oh, I'm sorry, Betty, that's yours. Is that yours? Yeah, there's mine, okay. So we have a program that is in the EOC that allows us to have residents in our community can text the SNCO COVID-19 to 888-777. And what happens with this is an alert whenever we have updates, which we have often throughout the COVID environment right now with our community, specifically making sure that we streamline the information when it is updated in regards to a change to a resolution, new press releases going out, any health order changes, and weekly updates that happen on the website for the EOC and the COVID-19 response. There is all this information out there that is in different places. This is going to allow them to receive that specific update right when it happens, when it gets uploaded, changed, or updated. So there will be a press release going out to also get the information for anybody that wants to sign up and has a cell phone. We do know a lot of people don't have social media, so this is another option for those to have this information at their hands.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is all I have. Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tammy Hunt, Shawnee County resident, lifelong Kansan. Something has, this morning, that I find a little disturbing after listening to this. There has been many things on the agenda that, well, I can't argue that they are necessity. The updating of AC systems and things like that, I'm sure they are necessity. But there seems to be a money grab for all of these funds that we've been receiving. And maybe I'm not looking at this clearly, I don't know, I did not think about this till this morning. That one thing to keep in mind, this money is borrowed money, taxpayer money, that my children and grandchildren and yours are going to be repaying for years to come. If we need to have these upgrades, then we need to plan for these upgrades. I'm not saying anything that anybody has mentioned here, with the exception of the billboards and bus things, wasn't a needed thing. But it does seem that it's more of a, well, we've got the money, let's just spend it. And that is taxpayer money. And we need to think about that as we're going through this. I'm sure you do, because I've seen the details that you put into things and the questions that you're asking, and I do appreciate those. That's just something that came to me this morning as I'm looking, that everybody seems to want a piece of this to upgrade something that needed upgraded to begin with, and in using it in light of COVID. Again, that was not what I was coming to talk to you about today. But what I wanted to go back through again, in March, when all of this started, we the people willingly chose, and that's for the most part, chose, not everyone chose, to obey the stay-at-home order so that we could flatten the curve. That's what we were all told. And we came together as a community to do our part. But we never had that curve. We still don't have that curve. And it's almost 6 months later. And the mandates and the things are getting worse. Our business owners are still being told how to run their businesses, what hours they can operate, who and how many they can let into their businesses. All citizens of this community are still being told where we can go and when because of the timing of everything, how many people we can be around, that we have to abide by a mask mandate, and quarantine for 14 days if we're exposed. For some people, that means doing without income because their employers say you have to be home and they get no pay. But again, if masks work like they're supposed to and like we're being told, if they have only been exposed and do not show symptoms, they should be allowed to go back to work wearing a mask. If that's not the case, then why are we, any of us, wearing a mask? We're also being told if and when we can send our children to school, if and when our children can play sports or be in band or be in choir, and the threats of the fines, and the pitting one person against another is still going on. Our city officials are now working, some behind the scenes, some have said no, but they are working on defunding and disarming our police. The documents are out there. The hand-picked committee is out there. This is alarming. Our local media is printing and promoting propaganda more often than they're reporting facts of the situation. Our state health department continues to manipulate data and promote a deceptive agenda of fear. Our governor is continuing to push panic, fear-mongering, and political divisiveness as she makes her expectations known through her news updates. A well-known drug is no longer allowed to be used for COVID in our state, even though there have been many studies done to prove its effectiveness. Lives may have been saved if we'd been allowed to use that. Kansans' lives. We won't know, but it's a possibility on a drug that's been around for a very long time. In other areas of our country, anarchy is allowed at the expense of pride being shut down and facing legal challenges. Censorship is rampant in our media. Doctors, critical studies, anyone who disagrees with the narrative is being censored. They're disappearing. Their videos, they're not allowed on the news, everything, they're disappearing. That's not okay. That's censorship in the United States of America. Water and electricity is being turned off in those businesses who refuse to bow to unreasonable government mandates. Yet water and electricity is continuing to be provided for anarchists who are allowed to take over portions of the city. Several police departments through the country have been chopped to the point of no ability to protect citizens or themselves. And you can now be arrested for opening your business, but you're not going to be arrested if you're looting a business. How long do you think it's going to be before anarchy is allowed to come to Kansas? In Shawnee County, they're asking to disarm our police. There will be anarchy. And what are you, as the county commissioners, going to do to stop that? Now, obviously, I'm not asking these questions for expecting an answer today. But these are things that you need to take seriously and think about. What are you going to do to stop this? Are you going to stand against the mayor and her radical hand-picked committee and those on the city council that want to disarm and defund our police? Are you going to stand up? I hope so. How long do you think it's going to be until our citizens rise up against this unreasonable and unconscionable situation? It's getting closer. Defunding and disarming our police will not go over well, and people are done with this nonsense. COVID numbers, currently, over a course of 6 months' time, we have in Shawnee County, 1.02% of our population has tested positive. In the whole state of Kansas, that's 1.27% over the course of 6 months. Our deaths in Shawnee County and statewide are still 0.01%, very exceedingly low. Many of those deaths were from nursing homes, and I won't ever discount anyone's death. But 0.01% is why we are holding everyone down and making all these mandates and planning for years to come to protect against COVID. 0.01% are currently hospitalized here in Topeka. 0.07% have been hospitalized over the entire state in the course of 6 months. Now, those numbers go up and down daily, hospitalizations, but they still don't go over 0.07%. So some areas of our state have absolutely been hit harder than others. These numbers simply don't warrant the government overreach at all, in any way, shape, or form. The panic that is being pushed here is absolutely beyond. In the United States, H1N1 had
Mr.
60...
We've imposed a 3-minute limit for other speakers, and are we going to impose a 3-minute limit today? Ms. Hunt has appeared before the commission in the past and went on for 15 minutes. I appreciate...
I do apologize for that, sir.
I appreciate the ability to have a public discourse, but at the same time, we have held a 3-minute limit. Now that we've started doing that, are we going to do that here, or what is our policy going to be?
Well, I did that because of the number of speakers we had that day. I don't think we have that volume here today. I hate putting a time limit on speakers. In the past, we haven't done that.
We have never done 4, but we've also never had somebody who went on for 15 to 20 minutes.
So
Yes, sir, and I apologize for that. That was lengthy. I do have a very little bit left. It won't take that long.
Please.
I appreciate that. Again, nothing was done during H1N1 for 60 million people, and COVID has reached 5 million, but we didn't do anything for 60 million. That was in 2009. I don't know what the difference is. Election year, maybe. So, you as commissioners, I'm asking that you demand an answer as to where is the end of this? What number is enough to go on with life? When is it going to be the end? We've asked this question repeatedly, and no one ever responds. We never get an answer. I am expecting an answer as to when is the end, because it should have already happened. So, as gentlemen, the situation is escalating out of control very quickly, and it's 6 months later, and I don't even recognize our country anymore. Our community is under attack by our own officials. I understand that much of this is out of your control as county commissioners, but each week when you meet, you have an opportunity to stop some of this madness at the county level. Be an example. Stand up and get rid of these ridiculous mandates. They're not helping the situation. Our business owners need to run their businesses. Our citizens should be able to decide for themselves to wear a mask or not. Parents should be able to choose to send their students to school, and they should also be able to decide if their children play sports or not. That's risk management. That's all of life. Every area of life, you have risk management. We should be able to choose that. In the United States, the government is given power by the citizens, and our individual rights are protected through the Constitution. The responsibility of the government is to ensure that those rights are being protected. In other words, gentlemen, you as county commissioners are culpable for protecting our rights. And as a reminder on the health front, my responsibility is to make personal decisions for my health, and your responsibility as a government entity is to uphold my constitutional right to do so. You can and you should stand up for truth and common sense. You are morally responsible for what you know to be true, and you're legally responsible to protect the rights of the citizens. This is simply my reminder to you of the seriousness of this situation. If your individual vote on this commission is to do nothing and continue to allow this overreach, then you're complicit in the destruction and theft of our rights as U.S. citizens. And history will not remember you well. That's all, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Angela Lewis with Human Resources. Earlier this year, we ran a contest for our 2021 benefits guides. We asked county employees to submit photos of their families, their coworkers, and their pets, and they did in large numbers. The winners for this year's contest are Melissa Burkhart with the Treasurer's Office, Riley Callahan with the Health Department, Maria Cunningham in Human Resources, Olivia Mayer in Parks and Recreation, Marcus Miller from the DA's office, and Melissa Saviano from Human Resources. We look forward to showcasing their photo submissions in the benefits guide this October. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak? Commissioner Cook?
No, nothing.
Commissioner Mays?
No, nothing for me.
I just wanted to say that next week, Monday, our Board of County Commissioner meetings will be held at the Great Overland Station. So give us a chance to accommodate more people and to spread out a little bit better. And so we'll probably be putting out a press release saying so much, and but it'll be at the same time, just different location. So, what's next?
Item 6, executive session.
We do have a need to go into executive session. I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session for a period not to exceed 10 minutes for the following reason. For preliminary discussion of acquisition of real property, specifically related to the Great Overland Station surrounding properties. This should not take more than 10 minutes. No action is expected at this time.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Cook. All in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries 3-0. We are now in executive session. Tim, you might want to sit in on this. We are back in session. No actions taken at this time, so we are adjourned. Thank you.
Cindy, just anywhere on here? It's like 8 lines, and
How many?
Let's see. Chair, vice chair, member.
okay.
So,
Is this a sign and
I mean,
print?
it's, we